Hello, Judy.
Lisa, how are things?
Things are going. It's gorgeous here today. I was out walking the dogs and it doesn't get any better, any
Not,
sweeter.
not in April in Wisconsin.
What I always look for is the trees just beginning that hint of of bright green.
Mm-hmm,
You
mm-hmm,
you kind of
mm-hmm.
look off in the distance at a copse of trees or a little woods, and you see just this sniff of greenness. And
Exactly.
that's happening right now. It's like, oh,
Yep. So you have spring fever.
immensely. Yes.
Okay. Well, don't get too excited because it's supposed to snow next week. So, it
Oh, welcome
is.
to spring in Wisconsin. This is our first. How many springs do we get in Wisconsin? Several.
Oh, gajillions, I think. And, you have to enjoy every day for every day. It's kind of a metaphor on life.
Yeah,
You
it is.
enjoy the days. And if you have a day tomorrow that isn't so pleasant, that's okay. You'll have another one of these one day soon. Right?
Exactly. Yes, true.
Okay.
Okay. So we are podcasting today about storytelling. So we're kind
Yes.
of on a storytelling run, I think. And when we were when I was preparing for getting together with you today, I was like, okay, so where are we going to go with this whole storytelling thing? And I don't know. So just kind of put it out there to begin with. But
Right?
as we go along, I was kind of doing some research through a number of my different storytelling books and story writing books that I have. And I
Okay.
came up with this great quote. And I thought, oh, this is where we need to start because it kind of hits all four corners of storytelling. And I thought this kind of sums it up in a nutshell. So the
Okay.
quote is by that actor, Alan Rickman. He played Professor Snape in the Harry Potter movies.
Mm-hmm.
He is now deceased. But his quote is this: It's a human need to be told stories. The more we're governed by idiots and have no control over our destinies, the more we need to tell stories to each other about who we are, why we are here, where we came from, and what might be possible.
Oh, I like that.
Isn't that incredible? I thought,
Yes,
amen. I believe in that. I mean, that just like it has so much that we can dig into. So,
absolutely. Who we are, why we are here, where we come from, and what might be possible.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. That's very rich. I like it a lot.
So let's kind of just touch all four parts. I said all four corners before. Anytime you got a foursome, in yoga, I always think it's interesting when we're doing like mountain pose or doing a standing pose. The phrase is ground down through all four corners of your foot. The ball of your foot, the outside pinky toe part, and then both sides of your heel. And I always think, I don't know, my foot feels more like a triangle. I've never argued with my yoga instructors about the four corners of your foot. So this one has a definite four corners though. So
Okay.
who we are. And I think that is so much of what we do in our storytelling with Sidetracked Sisters and in our books that we've written, talking
Mm-hmm.
about who we are and
Mm-hmm.
talking about especially who we've been.
Mm-hmm. I have to say this. I've had a very intense several weeks.
Well,
Um,
let's not
well,
beat around the elephant in the room. Let's
what I
dive into
wanted
that quick. Hmm.
Okay, I want to just say my husband passed away on the 4th of April on my birthday. And during the process, we had him in hospice care. And there was a wonderful gentleman, his name is Norm Leatherwood, who came to visit my husband. And the nurses were present in the room and everything. And Norm started talking to Michael. And they found out fascinating things about each other and who they were and where they'd been and what they'd done. And I mean, it was amazing. And, I'm sitting there thinking, I'll bet you that the average person in Beaver Dam has no idea of all the amazing things that Norm Leatherwood and Michael Goodson have done. So, I really embrace us not letting that happen. Is that okay?
Oh,
I
that's
didn't get too
wonderful.
gruesome there, did I?
No, no, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, but it
And
it
yeah,
was
I don't think we have many people in our lives who really know who we are. And I think, I mean, I've written about that just in our intro to
mhm,
the Sidetrack Legacies podcast. I think
right.
there is a deep human need, a deep personal need for many of us, if not all of us, to expose ourselves to somebody and to be seen for who we really are
Exactly.
and accepted and
Mhm.
loved.
Mhm, mhm, and there these when these 2 men were talking, I couldn't help but think, they've had so many adventures, I mean, international adventures, and they've done so many unusual and satisfying and, unusual things, and I thought, if you told that story in too much of an arrogant way, people wouldn't believe it, they would say, "Oh, come on." But it's all
Mhm.
true. So in
Yeah.
the storytelling, I think we have to stay factual to a degree and a little humble, because sometimes people have never left town and to them those kinds of stories are like, "What?" So I guess in my storytelling, I want to expose myself, but I want to be real.
Mm. Mhm, mhm. Well, and I think what my goal is I want to tell my stories and who I am to encourage other people to tell their stories and expose who they are, you
It's
know?
so fascinating. It's so fascinating. And when you know a person for who they are and you get to know their story beyond the superficial stuff,
Mhm, mhm.
they become more than a person. They become a person with fascinating stories, right?
Mhm, mhm. And
And
you build that
experiences.
and you have a connection, it's not a sense of, well, you've told a story, now I get to tell a story.
No.
In other words, I want to say that we want to tell our stories and then say, what's your story? You know,
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
how can we connect over this?
Exactly, exactly. I'm sitting here looking at, um, I think I can interject this. I'm
Mhm.
looking at Matthew Dix's book. You've got it probably there too, Story Worthy. This book, mine's backwards. Is yours? But no, yours wasn't backwards. It must be the way that the
Yeah,
here. Yeah. See.
there. No, they look fine to me. Anyway.
Anyway, it's now Matthew Dix is a great promoter on teaching and persuading and changing his life through storytelling.
Storytelling. Mhm,
And
mhm,
it makes his experiences so much more interesting.
mhm, mhm.
I learned a lot from this book.
Well, and I think why you learned so much was because you found that information, not that you were able to, I mean, relate with a story in particular, but because he was vulnerable to share
Mhm.
the story and
Mhm.
to identify the fear, the the learning that happened through the stories, the
Mhm.
you were able to, I don't know, we gravitate toward people who open up and expose themselves in a way that um, feels vulnerable
Mhm. Mhm. I
because
think that's what I'm trying to say when I say they become real. You
mm,
learn who they really are. They're not
mhm,
just this shell of a person, but they have juices running through their body and they have things that have happened to them and wisdom that they've learned from that and all of that contributes to a relationship
mhm, mhm.
and what that does too is it tempts you to reveal those things about yourself,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Or at least, if not to that person, to somebody,
Mhm.
you want to
Right.
find your tribe, your people, your group that you can be that open and honest and sharing with that will accept you for who you are.
Exactly. I mean, the favorite word nowadays is transparency. And I think transparency becomes more and more important in this day, as Alan Rickman says, when the more we're governed by idiots, and telling lies, and lies are okay. No, they're not okay. We need to be honest and real. And we don't need to be brutal. I always say that in our podcasts. I don't believe in brutality, but I believe in honesty with warmth and truth.
Yeah, yeah. And that kind of blends into, I guess we've kind of started already getting into this, why we are here. I think, we are here. We are here for a purpose. I
Mhm.
am a believer in, I don't want to call it necessarily destiny, but in us discovering our truth and not being just takers of what we can get in this life, but finding out what we can contribute, what we can give, what we can
Mhm.
offer.
Very
And I think
definitely.
that by opening up and being truthful with ourselves and with others, by expressing ourselves through storytelling, through writing, that we are able to discover why we are here.
Ooh, that's a really, really, really look at the eyebrows going up. That's a, a boy, that's one to ponder for the rest of the day. I
Yeah.
think you're right. I think you're right. It feels
Somebody
like
was
truth.
talking about being a life coach, which I am, and I help people understand how their thoughts create their feelings, and the feelings create your actions, and those actions create your results. It's
Mhm.
it's not really rocket science. And this
No.
person was saying, this person is a specialist in meditation. And they were talking about how meditation can really help you find your true self. And as a life coach, she's a life coach also. She was talking about how meditation is a profound and valuable resource in her life coaching practice with
Mhm.
people. And she was like, yeah, of course your thoughts are going to affect your actions and going to affect your reality. And I was like, well, yeah, meditation can help, but writing can help too. Writing, organizing your thoughts in such a way to get them down on paper can really be eye-opening on who we are and why we're here.
You know, I think writing is a form of meditation
Mm,
because
mm.
what you
Yep,
do when you
yep.
write, if you really let yourself
Into it.
go,
Mhm.
is it gives you insight into those thoughts, those feelings, those who am I, those where have I been? What did that mean to me? All
Yes,
that kind of
yes.
thing. So in a way, I mean, I don't think meditation is just sitting and using, a mantra. I think meditation is more than that.
Mhm. And there are different kinds of meditation, of
Yeah,
course. Yeah.
yeah. But I really agree that writing has that same type of revelation effect on us.
Mhm,
I know
mhm.
it does on me, and,
Right.
when I
Mhm.
read things back that I've written a year ago, I think, "Whoa,
Yeah.
I like that. That really says, what I wanted to say," and
Or wasn't that prophetic? I had no
uh
idea that that was gonna lead to this, and yet there's the kernel of it right there.
right there. So
Mhm,
I knew the truth, and I wrote it, and now I can believe it.
mhm.
Ah,
Oh, okay.
heavy
So
duty.
what?
I said heavy duty.
It is. So, the next part of this quote was talking about where we come from.
Mhm.
And, that one is I've given so much thought to that over the last, let me say, week or so. Because for me, our writing this past week we got together yesterday and wrote, and we were talking about, um, what was the exact topic?
Are we more like our mother or our father?
Exactly. And I was talking about how I was like each of them, but I came to it from a perspective of being an adoptive parent and how there's
Mhm.
a fine line between expecting your children to be like you and excited about who your children are meant to become.
Mhm.
Okay. And
Mhm.
sometimes I think we really dig to find connections with our parents, how we're the same. And sometimes I think other times it comes really easy. Like, I was always so good at math. Why is he struggling? I don't understand this. Or if I had a dime for every time a parent said, well, I never understood math, it's not surprising that my kid doesn't, struggles in math also. It's like,
Mhm.
no. No, there is not a correlation here. Your child struggles in math because he's not he's not interested in it for whatever reason, but
It's not focusing on
not
it.
focusing on it. Yeah, yeah. There's not
Mm-hmm.
an expectation that he's going to be good at it. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
where we come from has sometimes revelatory insight into where we are now and the potential of where we might be going
Mm-hmm. I
or
mean,
where we don't want to go.
how many people have parents who are attorneys and they become attorneys?
Hmm.
How many people have parents who are in business and they go into business or they take over the family business? I have one friend who followed that path, became an attorney, and when he was 45 said, "I hate being an attorney. I don't want any part of it." And he is now a musician in Los Angeles and he loves it. And
Wow.
it's kind of like, wow, but he felt such a strong pull to follow in his parents' footsteps. So, there is a real correlation about where we come from.
Hmm. Hmm.
And sometimes we need to say to ourselves, I understand that's where I came from, and that's not where I want to go.
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
right now, what's going on for me is I was just sitting down. We started podcasting a little late because I was talking with Aubrey, and we were talking about who she is and where she's going. She's at
Ooh.
that crossroads of 13. And I was able to say, what I'm seeing right now is telling me that you're going down this particular path. And I want you to understand that I've got some concerns about that path because you're going to be limiting yourself. And my goal for you is to keep as many options open during this next 4 years of your life as
Hmm.
possible because it's such a learning and growing time.
Live in
And
exploration, Aubrey. Live in
mm,
exploration. Look at all the options.
mhm. and
Yeah.
I and so telling her, she's not sure where she came from or where she wants to go. And so she's in this real limbo because being an adopted kid, um, and in a household, she's Hispanic and we're white. She's not exactly sure where she fits in, where she came from. And
Hmm.
so that is a huge conversation for us right now, and
Hmm.
one that it's not easy, um, but it's exciting.
Well, and being Hispanic as opposed to being white, in our day and age of diversity, that doesn't need to define who we
Mhm,
are. We can
mhm.
have a cultural history and still not have that define us.
Well, I mean, she's been told she wants some of it. For instance, she loves Hispanic food. And when we had a relative living with us for a while, she learned how to make, come on, she learned how to make those things in the corn husks,
Tamales.
tamales. She loves them, absolutely loves them. Um, she wanted to have a quinceañera, but she's been told that she can't have one because she doesn't live in a Hispanic home and we wouldn't be able to do it correctly. And so we've been talking about how to get her have a sweet 16 birthday party instead. As I said,
Uh-huh.
girl, you get to decide. It's
Exactly. It's your
you,
choice. You
your
get to make it
choice.
happen.
Hmm.
Hmm.
But there are forces out there that are telling her what she can and cannot do as a young Hispanic woman not living in a Hispanic
Hispanic home.
household. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yep,
Hmm.
exactly. So, yeah.
That's too bad because I think that's part of what causes, some of the conflict between the various ethnic backgrounds is because instead of saying, okay, let us help you figure out what this can look like, they're saying, no, 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 you can't. Well, you know what? Yeah, 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 you can. So I support that 100%.
Mm. So she's in that, that exploration of where she comes from and how she wants to define that. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not easy. It's
Mm-mm.
not, when you get to I mean, I think a lots of times it's a lot easier. Like you're talking about the person you knew that went into, to be a lawyer because that was what they knew. And I think it's often easy when you don't exactly know what you want to be or do or who you are. And we ask people to decide that so young and so early. We start
Mm-hmm.
that when they're 5 or, for
Mm-hmm.
goodness sake. I mean, we want them, what do you want to be when you grow up? Fireman, it's like, oh, good, a nice solid, um, career decision.
I've always envied people that really, really, truly in their heart knew what they wanted to be. I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up, and I'm about probably running out of time. So it's kind of one of those things where I remember tears from you at 13
Yes,
because you were so stressed about not knowing what you
totally.
wanted to do or be. And I
Yep.
thought, oh my goodness, Lisa, you have so much time. But,
Hmm.
you are a very goal-oriented person, and
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
you wanted to know what that was going to be, and you wanted to know it and act on it. And
Yep,
it
totally.
was it was hard to say, hey, it's okay, just roll with it, see what comes up for you.
And I guess that moves into the last part of this quote, what might be possible. I
Hmm.
brought you up to Aubrey this morning because I brought up my 13-year-old self and not knowing what I wanted to be. And I brought up you. So we kind of talked about you and your situation at the beginning and Michael's passing. And I said to Aubrey, I said, what's great about our writing is and I mentioned this to you the other night. I hope you don't mind me
Hmm.
bring this up now. I don't know if
Not
you
at
know where
all.
I'm going. Right now you are in a transition period.
Hmm.
You have got a home and an occupation, and you're a solopreneur. Your
Hmm.
son is grown and on his own, and you're suddenly in a new situation of life. And I said, it's not like Judy's got another good 20 years to live. You
Hmm.
you aren't, you're not a spring chicken, but you aren't going anywhere soon either. So
No, no.
whatever you're going to do next in your life, you just said, what are you going to do when you grow up? You still get to choose that. You still get to decide. You still get to sit down and figure out what might be possible for you.
When you said that to me, it was actually just last night.
Yep.
No, it was
Yes.
Thursday.
No,
Yeah, it
we
was
didn't
last
get
night,
together.
Friday
Yep.
night. I got to thinking, it does not in any way take away from my total and absolute devotion to my husband, but
Mhm.
he was the best encourager of be what you can be and love your life. And I think what your comments said to me is I'm in a period of not just transition, but it's almost a rebirth.
Yeah.
And it's
Mhm.
a time to look at what might be possible, as this quote says. And,
Mhm.
there's a part of me that wants to hang back and say, oh, that ship has sailed. But I really don't think it has.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
And I just feel that it's just our writing, our getting together, our energy,
Mhm.
it
Well, and
excites
and I
me.
think one of the valuable things that has helped you here, Judy, is through this last 6 months to a year, you've also been getting coaching. So that the time,
Yes.
we've known that Michael was very sick for the
Hmm.
last several months.
Right.
And so we've talked a lot about, how are you feeling? What things are happening? And what do you want it to mean? How do you want to respond? What are the memories you want to create? You've been
Hmm.
very mindful through this process so
Hmm.
that you aren't dealing with all kinds of feelings of regret and remorse and things
Oh.
being unsaid and things that you wish you would have done differently. You've
Hmm.
been very mindful through this.
Process. I feel very clean about Michael's passing. Um, I have put that question out once in a while and said, could I have done more? And the answer is no. I
Mhm,
did what I could. I did what I knew. I went to my experts.
mhm,
I,
mhm,
I exposed Michael and his illness to everyone that could help him.
mhm, mhm.
And the fact that he had a terminal illness just said, no, you can't help him. This is
Yeah.
it. He's on to his next stage. And he also has just experienced rebirth. And my one hope is that one day we can get together and say, "Oh, what was that like? And how did it go?" And, and I
Yeah.
can tell my story and he can tell his story. And I don't know if we'll be little souls talking or if we'll be people or how. I have no idea how all that works, but
Mhm,
it
mhm,
needs to be embraced. And I am actually, in a way, feeling re-energized. And,
mm, mhm,
yeah, it's a very interesting time, and there's a few stories in there too. So I'll be actually expressing some of that last many months in storytelling, and I think I want
mhm,
to make
mhm,
it a way for people to understand that what I went through. I'm stuttering around here, but I had a hospice worker when my mother was passing. She was in hospice for 2 months. And the
mhm,
hospice worker said to me, "You need to recognize that death is much a part of life as birth. And there needs to be," and then my coach taught me that we needed to have joy in every day.
mm,
And we did. And it was such an insightful thing to say. And so
mm,
I can look back and say, even though he passed, it was a joyful death. And
mm,
I feel really clean about that.
mhm, mhm.
So, that will forever be part of my story.
And not that not I don't want you to give the impression that it was an easy
Oh,
experience, you know.
no,
I
not at
mean,
all.
this isn't a Pollyanna, oh, tiptoe through the tulips, mixing my metaphors there. But you definitely, as you said before, you accessed your resources both for
Mhm,
Michael and for yourself through the
mhm,
process so that you
mhm.
could be mindful and you could deal with some of the thoughts that were going in your head and really stand back from them and go, is this the way I want to think? Is this how I want to feel? And if not, how do I want to think? How do I want to
Exactly.
feel? And what do
Because
I
I
need to
have a
do?
choice. I have a choice on what those thoughts are going to be in my mind.
Mhm,
And I can be woe is me and have a pity party. And, it's so easy to do when you're going through a grieving thing. However, those thoughts don't serve me at this point.
right.
And those thoughts don't lead to the feelings or the actions that I need to make as my own person.
Yep, exactly. Well,
How's that for
Judy,
preaching?
I think we could this quote, like I said, I knew it was right where we needed to be
Yes,
because
it was.
um it's what we believe in storytelling and in our writing, and that we want to be the preachers. We want to get the word out, to tell people to get your stories down, to find communities of people to share your stories with, to make connections with, because it's where it's at.
It's where
And
it's at. It
it's
adds depth and perspective to your life, is
yep.
what happens. You're not just leading a superficial skimming across the surface. You're really living life the way we were meant to live it.
Amen. And that's, I think, where we should stop this today. We're going to get more into more storytelling over the next several sessions, because there are other quotes that I want to explore and other thoughts. But storytelling is definitely the hot topic here. So join us
Okay.
in the next weeks for more on the topic.
Love it.
Okay. Love you, Judy.
It was a great day. Thank
Okay.
you.
Talk to you later. Bye bye.
Bye.